What's going on, guys? This is Hold the Door DFS at Fantasy Sports Insight. Welcome to the first edition of our MLB Showdown breakdown. MLB Showdown is one of the categories of DFS that was really profitable last year. Less people in the lobbies, and it's a niche sport that I really think there is a clear advantage in cash games. Just so you know, as you're listening, hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. Also, we have a $50 VIP special that is going to cover all of our sports for a month. That is a steal, especially when we have most sports are going to have, 3 to 4. Sometimes, soccer's having 7 slates a day, and you're going to get access to everything: esports, NBA, MLB, NHL, everything you can think of. So let's jump into the slate. I'm going to first start with our odds, and we will look at both of the games and kind of start building a little bit. I do think in cash games, more than not, you'll see the sharp players using both starting pitchers, mainly because of the floor and the upside. Now, I think there's definitely situations where you fade one of the pitchers for another hitter, or we'll get into that. But I think those are the slates that I like less as a cash player. I prefer to be really comfortable using both pitchers and one in the captain spot at least. So in the first matchup here, we see the Yankees are minus 136. The over-under is only 7.5 with Scherzer and Garrett Cole on the mound. So we are going to go over here to the pricing. You will see Garrett Cole is 11,200, Max Scherzer 9,400. Now, before you even get into your builds, I think you're in cash, you're going to play both of them no matter what. I do think Cole is going to have a little bit longer leash. I think he might be just a little bit more prepared, but I do think both of them are going to get a pretty hefty amount. I think the approach most teams are going to take is going to be really different. I think some teams are going to treat it like the playoffs, where they can they push the guys more innings because they're only going to be playing in this small amount of time. So let's get the most out of them in this time. Or some teams might treat this like the first game of the year, that, they're only going to let Garrett Cole go 85 pitches, 6 innings or something like that. But I think in cash, there's no way you fade both of them. So I think just because Scherzer is way cheaper, I think it's going to be easier to start him in the captain role and then using Garrett Cole after that. Now, if you look at the starting lineups, because if you go back here, now we only have an average of 6,000 left per player. So, and I get that makes it difficult to get some of the bats you want. But I do think there could potentially be some value. The first value that I think might pop up for us is going to be on the national side. Victor Robles is questionable. He's day-to-day. He might not start tomorrow. If he does not start, we should get a nice value in Michael A. Taylor, who is 5,000. He would be somebody that would allow you to get a little bit higher up into potentially playing the likes of someone like Brett Gardner, Adam Eaton. You might not be able to get to Gio Urshela, even though he's going to be hitting 9, which is really tough for me to pay that much for somebody hitting 9, even though he's a good player. The other, if Yan Gomes is in, would be another potential value here. So if you saw through both of these guys playing, then this would give you more of an advantage to potentially pay for someone like Gardner and Hicks, or you can build that way. I'm not guaranteeing that those values pop up. There is a chance that our cheapest player starting could be, and I don't know that Starlin Castro is going to start. I don't think he is. But the first choice to fill in the third base, third hitting spot. So actually, do we have him projected on here? Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, sorry, that was a mistake. Yeah, so Starlin Castro, 5,800. He's probably going to be a lock for me. Just that price tag and where he's going to be hitting in the lineup. So I definitely would start here with your builds and then see what value comes up. I think you'll be potentially looking at, Asdrubal Cabrera, if he somehow gets a start here, which I don't think he will. Well, he might over Carter Kieboom. Yeah. So just kind of look around. But I think this is where you need to start with your builds, using both pitchers in cash. Now, if you flip-flop the starters here, you're going to notice that Garrett Cole, if you put Garrett Cole at captain, this is going to probably leverage some ownership in GPPs. You still get a similar dollar amount to work with per player. So if you do like Garrett Cole in a vacuum a lot better, then I think that this is the way to go. Obviously, Garrett Cole is probably facing, in my opinion, a weaker lineup. But again, this is the beginning of the year, so I think there's a lot of variance that goes along with that. Eric Thames is too expensive for me. Even guys like Trey Turner is too expensive, Juan Soto. And this is in cash. I mean, if you fade one of these pitchers or don't use them in the captain spot, I think that's fine. I think the problem with using a hitter in the captain spot, especially against elite pitching like this, is that similar to, the opposite of something like NBA, where a player still has an implied floor just by playing minutes. These guys don't necessarily have an implied floor of like 10 points just because they're Juan Soto. He has that he could easily go 0 for 4 and have 0 points, or have 0 for 3 with a walk. So just make sure you think about those things when you're building. These types of slates are a little bit harder to build for, because you want to get some of these big hitters. I think like Gleyber Torres, and it looks like DJ LeMahieu is going to be is starting. Okay, well, I had him listed it out. I don't. He could potentially be out, which could open up some other value too. But regardless, I think Starlin Castro is going to be my favorite value of the slate, assuming he gets to hit in that top 4 slot. And then I like using both pitchers, one in the captain spot, whichever one you prefer. I think if I just had a choice and didn't have to worry about salary, Garrett Cole would be that option. All right, let's move on to the next slate. The next slate is going to be between the Giants and the Dodgers, and we have the Dodgers coming in at a -310 favorite. This is going to be a little bit different build. I think, Kershaw's strikeout prop is like around 6.5. I still think he's going to be super popular in the captain role. Now, this is a slate that I don't think Cueto is just an automatic plug and play at 8,800. I think in cash games, you'll still see most people go there just because it's the first game of the year. I would say pitchers are throwing simulated bullpens, but I don't think hitters are seeing, necessarily simulated as much action from the hitter's perspective. But I think he is definitely fadeable in GPPs and potentially in cash, depending on what kind of lineups we get. So if we look at their lineups, we're obviously going to probably see less value for the Dodgers. Will Smith, Matt Beattie, Gavin Lux would be the places we would be looking for value. But even Will Smith is 8,400, Gavin Lux is 7,800. And then where's Matt Beattie? So Matt Beattie might be your best cheap play here against Cueto. So if you're stacking against Cueto and you don't go that route, I do think that you're going to have some value here. Dubon and Sanchez, I think, are going to be relatively cheap. Brandon Belt is also usually pretty cheap. And I can't even find his name already. And looks like he might not be in, he will not be ready for opening day. So again, these projected lineups I just took from MLB.com, but it looks like he might be out. Alex Dickerson, if we flash back, projected in the 4-hole, I think that could be a nice value here at 5,800 as well. The only problem is it is a lefty on lefty matchup, which isn't awesome. And then Dubon here at 5,400, depending on where he hits in the lineup, I think is viable as well. So I think if you are stacking the Dodgers here, say you want Bellinger and Betts, that is not going to work out with Kershaw in the captain role. So say you want Bellinger, then you could also fit in someone like Justin Turner. But then, again, you can't go that route, actually. So let's see. Again, this is all assuming you're using Kershaw at captain, Gavin Lux. Yeah, it's just going to get tough to build with these super expensive hitters with Kershaw at captain. So I would suggest in cash using Kershaw at captain. Probably going to have to use 2 value giant players and then see where the lineups fall that we can maybe pay up for AJ Pollock, Gavin Lux, Justin Turner, or at least getting one of those guys would be nice. Chris Taylor, I don't think he'll make the lineup, but if he does, he would be viable there as well. Sometimes you get Russell Martin or Barnes. So we're not really sure how they're going to rotate these guys, but I do think that you will need at least 2 value giant players if you're not using Cueto. If you're using Cueto, you'll definitely need value, and you likely will not be able to pay up for you maybe be able to pay up for one Dodger bat. So that's kind of where I'm at. Again, I'm going to continue to come out with some more content around MLB Showdown and just kind of give you my insight in the path that I take to build for MLB Showdown in cash. If you have not gotten a chance to look at my head-to-head strategy video, we have a lot of our FSI members using it and getting a good edge in cash games where they're playing against people that they feel like they have an advantage against every time the slate locks. And that's where I have found the most success, is finding ways to play against less than average players rather than paying rake to chop 50-50 with sharks or just win one, lose one, win one, lose one. That over long term, you will lose to rake that way. All right. I'm going to sign off for today. Good luck.